Good evening. This is the April 5th, 2017 meeting of the Finance Committee, being just after 7 p.m. Our agenda tonight will have presentations and discussions on the warrant articles for the town meeting in May. We have some budgets left to review, including the Department of Public Services, budgets, library, senior center, elder affairs, cable and community TV, veteran services, also pension and benefits, and the CIP. We've got one transfer tonight, and once again, we'll be voting on the annual town meeting warrant articles tonight. I don't believe we have any minutes tonight, and then we'll adjourn. So I'm actually going to open up, just as a request from the town manager, that we go directly to article number 27 now, which this involves the proposed new billboards on the Auburn Mall, a very high priority for the town. And I'm actually going to defer over to Julie and Ed regarding this, so if you can open up for us.
That'd be great.
Then we'll take a motion on the article.
Oh, that would be great. Much appreciated. Thank you all to the committee. So the reason we're here this evening is to just explain to you, while you normally wouldn't be taking a position on a zoning bylaw, a lot of times you do defer to the petitioner. We wanted to explain this to you because there is a monetary component to it that may have an impact in a positive way on the town in the future. I want to be clear that this is a zoning bylaw amendment proposed by the Planning Board. It was supported unanimously by the Board of Selectmen, and it was voted unanimously to approve by the Planning Board as well. The basic gist of it is to amend the regional mall overlay zone that currently does not allow for billboards. In this day and age, that's how advertising is done. It is done by billboards, electronic billboards. So the Auburn Mall, along with Total Outdoor Media, which is the company that they're working with for the billboards, made great presentations. They did their homework. They did a lot of work on line of sight, shadow flicker, and anything like that. They have a new technology where when you see the billboards at a certain angle, they completely black out, so you don't see any writing at all. So they're only visible writing-wise to the Massachusetts Turnpike. They're proposing to amend the overlay district to allow for two billboards, not to exceed 100 feet in height. Each billboard would be 48 feet wide by 14 feet in height, which is a standard billboard sign within the 100 feet. Two-sided, and the proposal that we received is that we feel this is good for the mall. First of all, I just want to state that the mall needs to find another source of revenue, always looking to make sure that they're successful. They're our top taxpayer, they're our top employer, and we want to be supportive of efforts that they can make as long as there's no negative impact in their. No negative impact was identified by the Planning Board or the Board of Selectmen. It would help them generate revenues to keep themselves viable. That being said, Total Outdoor Media has made an offer of a donation to the town if and when these billboards are up and running. And that donation would be a memorandum of understanding. And I do want to point out that Attorney Robert Longden is here, who represents Total Outdoor Media, and is here if there were any questions, and has been great to work with. He provided me with a copy of what the MOA would look like that we would enter into after town meeting votes on the approval of this. But basically what they have offered to the town is, for each billboard, a total of $25,000 payment annually over a period of 20 years, which is $1 million, with the first 5 years payable up front and a fee of $250,000. Then the remaining 15 years to start on the 5th year out and go out from year 5 to year 20. And in addition to that, they would be providing the town with, I believe it was 8 hours of usable time on the billboard, on one or two of the billboards during every month. So if we needed it for either emergency things or any town functions, that it would be accessible to us. And they'd also be donating to the town an electronic signboard that we can use, which we always need to have such signboards. So we look at this, that certainly if this was not good for the neighborhood or for the town, then the donation wouldn't have made a difference. But the fact that there's no impact, no negative impact, it helps them all, and it certainly helps the town. So our thought was, if this does go through, we've talked a lot about it internally. We'll certainly have additional conversations about it, but this would give us $250,000 up front that we would like to recommend. We put right back into Drury Square, into the implementation of some of the strategies that just came out in the plan that was finalized in February. And some of those things may be de-weeding the pond right behind the fire station, that beautiful pond there, making it more attractive to businesses, to residents, to people to go there, maybe to go and sit and have lunch, revamping the fountain, and maybe putting a fountain in the pond, revamping the fountain with the rocket, and maybe doing some signage, wayfinding, and beautiful flags and banners in Drury Square to help define it more as a downtown area per the recommendations of the new plan that we came out with. So that was our thought. It would be a great revenue stream to do that, and it would give us revenue to continue to implement some of the recommendations in the Drury Square plan. So we'd like to tie the donation into economic development, specifically in the area that benefits them all as well. We want to see them succeed. Again, they're our largest taxpayer, our largest employer. We need to make sure that they're viable, and we want to work in partnership with them to do that.
Okay, great. I'm going to open it up to questions by anyone, or if Ed has any additional comments on this.
No, I think Julie has said everything that I was going to convey to the committee. Certainly, this is a long-term, has a long-term financial benefit to the town. Certainly, I think the economic development plan relative to Drury Square is also, those enhancements are beneficial to the commercial taxpayers of the community, and enhances that area and would foster future development, hopefully, that would lead to new growth to the town as well.
Okay. Kev?
Just through the chair, so you referenced that if it should pass a town meeting, then you would sit down with the company, excuse the name,
Total Outdoor Media.
Total Outdoor Media, and discuss an MOU, is it an MOU or MOA?
I believe it came in the form of an MOA, Memorandum of Agreement.
Okay. So at that point, you'll sit down and make, these are all preliminary discussions regarding the revenue coming into the town.
Through the chair, it's a donation, it's not a negotiated mitigation payment. So the difference being that under the law, the town doesn't have the authority to negotiate any type of donation in return for development. So it's not any type of negotiated agreement. It is a offered donation from the company to the town. So the company provides the town with the MOA, with the outlines the donation that I just mentioned. So we have it in writing, and it's memorialized what they would be giving to the town. We did provide it to Town Council Hennigan to review, understanding that, again, we could not sign it until after the town meeting voted. Technically, they're still a little bit off from having this done. Even if town meeting votes to approve, it has to go to the Attorney General's office for approval, and they have 90 days to do it. And then the agreement that was provided to us, the draft agreement, does show that we would receive our first payment upon both signs being operational. And when I talked to Attorney Longan about what operational is defined as, it means when they're up, they're installed, and they're ready to be used. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're fully booked up with advertising.
Okay. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, the projects that you're thinking about are projects that are not stuff that would be within the operating budget. They're things that, should this funding source go away, should the agreement donation go away because the company were to merge with another company and they decided not to continue such donations, they're projects that would not be, we'd be counting on year from year. They would
Correct. We're looking at one-time projects, a one-time cost with a one-time source of revenue for that. The Drury Square plan did just get finalized and posted, I believe, in February. So we have yet to even look at the implementation of the plan with regard to how that's going to impact our budget going forward in the future for operational, which there may be a need in the future to have, an economic development component or some other things that were recommended in the plan. This would not, at least our initial thought is to use it to do something that needs to be done more in lines of the beautification and the cleanup of the Drury Square area.
Thank you.
But that is open for discussion. There's no decisions made on that. I just want to make sure that's just a thought that we had. We're certainly open for suggestions. We just felt that if the dollars are coming from the mall and being generated from the mall, it would be appropriate to spend them in an area where the mall and all the businesses in that area would benefit.
And I would assume the Finance Committee would at least have a chance to voice something relative to the end use of those revenues that come in. So probably looking at, what, a couple of years?
From the time that this comes in, I would turn to Attorney Longan to correct me, but it may take maybe, from the time it gets all the approvals, maybe 6 months to get these installed.
Okay, so maybe a year. Great. No, that's great. Any other questions or comments on this? Kim, we're actually on Article 27 relative to the proposed billboards for the mall.
I have one question. So this would be behind the mall property, like towards the back of the building, closest to the Pike?
Yes, there are two locations. One is close to what used to be the Macy's building, behind it.
Okay.
And the other one is also behind the mall, down on the other end, closer to where the Sears and the automotive is.
So it's completely mall property, mall agreement, there's no liability if someone were
Correct.
to get injured?
It's all
or
private.
maintenance?
All private.
Okay.
Good question. Anyone else? Okay, I guess our choices of recommendations, and Sharon usually walks us through this, but she actually put it on our agenda tonight, so we could either recommend, thank you for that, by the way, recommend approval, not recommend approval, defer to the petitioner, or take no position at this time. And once again, we normally would defer to the petitioner because this is kind of a zoning planning thing, but with the dollar impact that's very real on this, Julie and Ed had asked that we take a vote on this. So is there a recommendation on this?
I'll recommend approval.
Okay, do we have a second? Second. We have a second. Any further discussion on this? All in favor for recommend approval?
Aye.
Not approval? Okay, unanimous. Great, thank you. Thanks for your time. Julie, thanks. I know you're going to
Thank
take
you
off.
very much, I do.
So, great for crashing
I apologize.
our agenda here. All right,
Thank you for letting me.
all right.
Bye.
Okay. Thank you once again. Okay, so let's go to item number 3, which is a review of the budgets. This would be the Department of Public Services budgets, 541. All right, so where's our head librarian? Come on up. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take each of these divisions separately. In fact, who does this fall under? Department of Public Services, directly under Julie?
Yeah.
Fall under you? It's under Julie? Okay, that's fine. So I think what we'll do is, unlike the DPW and DDIS, we're going to take the division budgets and vote on them individually. I know this is kind of a catch-all group of budgets. So welcome.
Thank you.
Now, is this your second budget or third? Second that you've built. So you want to tell us a little bit about what's going on with the library?
Sure.
And before you start, we'll take a quick look at your CIP, too, if we have any questions, so.
So Jean Collins, Director of the Auburn Public Library. I'm about a year and a half into a 3-year contract to kind of redesign the entire model for the library. We're doing very well as a team. I work closely with the Library Board of Trustees. We've done a lot of improvements to the building, as well as interior and programs and offering resources, creating a lot of operational efficiencies and tightening up all of those protocols, also workspace for staff, and a number of things that are also directly impacting the public and the services of the public.
Okay, great. I've heard a lot of good things going on down there.
Thank you.
Some renovations, are they all complete?
Oh, no.
What's going on?
In fact, right now, we're working on the Merriam Room,
Okay.
and we've just had the ceiling tiles replaced, which we were very fortunate because DPW were able to get some of the ceiling tiles from the Auburn Mall, from the Macy's, so we were able to make good use of those. We're also renovating that with some carpeting and some media, which will be in the corner so that we can stream programs in the Merriam Room.
Good.
So
And I think I noticed you have ceiling tiles in your budget for, or CIP for, is it next year or 3 or 4 years out?
I think that it was in for 2020, Ed, right in front of me. But that we were able to move it a little bit up because we started work on the Merriam Room, so I was going to take it out of state aid, but then we were able to use the tiles from the other model.
That's good.
Ceiling tiles were, after we just had all the lighting done,
Right.
so it was kind of, the next step was to have
2022.
2022 for those?
But we're a little bit ahead now because of Merriam's rooms.
Good. No, that's good. And I will just add that the library total requested is $602,702. The primary request is the same as the town manager request. This is an increase of $11,000, just over $11,000 from the original fiscal 17 budget, and I do believe we're just ahead of the required state contribution.
Correct.
Correct.
Budget for this, which was just over $601,000. Any questions on the details of the operating budget from any of the members?
Just briefly, I
Yep.
know last week we had a transfer relative to fuel costs, was it heating costs?
The repairs to the boiler?
I'm sorry, was that strictly boiler repairs? That was not,
We were not able to anticipate those. It's some of the deferred maintenance type things. Once you start fixing one piece, a number of other things kind of fall into place. We also looked at a company to come in now and do preventive maintenance twice a year, so that was part of that additional cost, so they can come in and explore the roof units and see how all that ties in with the AC and the heating units, which are separate, but sometimes they're competing. We've had some issues with the thermostats. We just had them there again today as well, but we're hoping to get to the end of all that, fairly soon. We're able to transfer the money without any
okay.
concern.
Yeah, it just wasn't clear on the transfer. It seemed like that was heating costs, and I was just curious to see if that what you had in here for heating, oil, gas was sufficient to get you through next.
These were actual repairs to the infrastructure, so yeah, that's kind of like, I don't want to say it's a one-time cost, but it was a cost that was unanticipated. Hopefully it's resolved. There are some issues, as the director has just explained to you, relative to the air conditioning unit, which is currently being looked at now.
Yes, they were there today.
So there may be some additional transfers coming before you in the future. To that extent, we don't know what the total cost is for those repairs. I think they are assessing and evaluating the system right now.
Thank you.
Good.
Yes.
Any other questions? I have just a couple of quick minor ones, and I know we have a full agenda tonight. Gene, just 2 of the line items, the contracted services, what are those? Because I know they didn't exist prior to, I think, your first budget. And the second question is, the buildings and grounds number, I know looks a little high relative to the 3-year run rate on this, and I know we have a minimum budget you have to have on that. Is there anything specific on either one of those two?
The contracted services is a little bit higher now because we just included the new contracted service for the annual maintenance of the boiler
Okay.
and the AC unit, which is, it's considerable. They have to check the rooftop and, a number of other elements to it. Included also is our alarm system,
Okay.
our copier maintenance contracts, and those types of things.
Okay.
Sometime before, I think they were paid out of other accounts.
Yeah,
But to be compliant with the state, you have to be careful where you pay the money from, so.
I remember we had kind of shifted some things back and forth on that. I wanted to make sure there wasn't, or I'd like to know if there was anything new going on with that outside of keeping some expenses where they should
Right,
be.
the big new one for that is the preventive maintenance
Okay.
contract for the.
Good.
And that resulted in an amended budget in the last couple of days that is now before you tonight. So if you look,
Yeah, it's higher than,
yeah, we made a $1,000 adjustment to accommodate for that.
okay, good. Yeah, money needs to be there, that's great. The building and ground, is that support, supplies, whatever, what's,
Yes.
That's all.
We're kind of, some of it is put into the building, and off the top of my head, a lot of it is supplies, comes out of the building supplies. Building and grounds, gosh, I'm drawing a blank on how we.
okay. It's a small number.
Or things that we don't really anticipate
Yep.
for the building or for things outside that cost, unanticipated funds for those types of things.
We don't like deferred
And
maintenance.
And if necessary, we transfer it to something else.
Okay. Good. Oh, that's great. Any other questions? All right, so we have a recommended budget of $602,702. Do we have a recommendation on this?
Motion to recommend.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted. Great. Let's jump back to the CIP just real quick if there's any questions on that. We don't need to take a motion on that, but just while Jean's here, I think you just had a couple of things in there. So, let's see. All right, security lighting, outdoor digital sign. So is that a new sign that's going in?
It's been here for a while. The board had started to look at some signage.
Yeah.
We really do need some new signage above the building. Nobody sees that sign, so I had initially had some discussions with the sign company about maybe keeping it there and backlighting it, but the lawn sign is broken. We're looking at maybe a digital sign, which is what the board wants to look at. So that's been in there for a while. I'm not even sure that would be,
Okay. Actually, I wish Julie was here. I'd give her some grief. I'd like to have a better permanent, what are we using, a DPW sign for events that are on your front lawn there. I think we can do better than that at some point in time. So hopefully we address that, or Julie is watching this at some future point in time. Any questions on the CIP? Kev?
Just quick questions that we just discussed, that you're having air conditioning and boiler issues. Are those items listed here because at one time those were CIP items further back where they don't have a dollar amount listed next to them? That's why they're line items that are completed, or?
Well, the air conditioner did have a value to it, and it's showing a zero because at one point during the 5-year plan, it was amended for another purpose. There is a boiler replacement line item in FY 2022 for $25,000. So we recognize a little further down the road, we had the boiler looked at. The individual who looked at the boiler, who is an employee of the, Joe Fahey of the Auburn School Department, indicated that it has a life expectancy that would get us out to 2022.
Good.
So,
And do we ever move things up? For instance, if we are putting 5,000 towards this now, do we say, well, we're not going to, is there,
we
what is the process
reassess
of
this
moving?
every year, and there are changes within the 5-year plan to reflect any movement, either accelerated or deferred, all depending on the life or the condition of the equipment.
Hey, could you just give an update on the windows? I happened to be in there studying for an exam during the week that I think South of Worcester was a Modern Window, did your window replacements, and just, they were doing the front, and it sounds kind of corny, but I mean, it was night and day from the days they put
Right.
those new windows in. I mean, the place just
Right.
lit up, and in fact, I was hoping, and maybe you can just explain the full-size windows, where are we with those? Because I can imagine the little windows had a dramatic effect. I can only imagine what
Right.
replacing those
They're
giant
definitely on our agenda for the next year or two. We're going to look at that. They did do, half of them, I think we kind of wanted to see if, we were going to go with it. The other half of it is finished, the children's area, the staff break room, and around to the back with the staff work area and the garage area, so that whole section has been finished. So it is just the larger ones now.
What do you mean as far as, have those already, is the funding there for the?
We do have some funding available. I don't think there's enough to replace those windows at this point. There's some other bond proceeds and projects that were ongoing to see if we could sweep some of those savings as a result of the cost coming in lower towards the windows to see where we are. So we may be required, or we may be coming in with a recommendation in the future to appropriate more money in order to get that project completed.
Thank you.
Good. Any other questions? Good. We're all set. Thanks for coming up.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Okay. Our next budget is the Senior Center, Elder Affairs. And Jean, come on up. Introduce yourself and welcome aboard.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jean Bullitt, and I'm the director of the Senior Center.
And congratulations on the
Thank
job.
you.
So, big changes. I know Eddie said, don't look at your budget until I give you the budget. So this is yours, so, no, good stuff. I haven't had really a chance to dig into it, so you want to tell us a little bit about what you're trying to do?
Okay. I've been here for about 2.5 months, and what I did is Ed had prepared the budget, and we kind of talked and we kind of tweaked it a little bit. So the major difference is the assistant director, who is Cheryl Westerman, is to have her go full-time. Right now, she's a part-time employee, so she doesn't work on, she's only there half a day Thursday and doesn't work on Fridays. So it's, my goal is to have 2 full-time employees for the whole week, so that way there's someone there for lunch coverage, if there's any type of emergency in the senior center, any type of accidents with any of the WRTA vans, just for safety and just because of just the general, it's busy at the senior center, just to have 2 people there at all times. And then the other thing is we had an increase in, I guess, building maintenance, repairs. What I had done is done an analysis when I had probably a couple weeks ago and found that there was more like a shortfall of the bills that we had historically over the last 4 years, and I did an average and found that was about almost $5,000 that we needed in addition to the budget that we had. And I had done a spreadsheet with all of the numbers so that you would have that for review. And that's basically just to cover, like we have a commercial kitchen, so that's someone to come in and inspect the hood. We have an alarm system that, we pay every 3 months. Let's see, fire extinguishers all have to be inspected. That was another $1,000 cost. We pay for our own, say, soap and toilet paper and paper towels and things like that. So it's just items that we truly need for the senior center.
Good. Oh, that's great. The increase in the van drivers, is that just going rate kind of thing, or are you adding hours? Or bless you.
The van driver salary, that's under contract with the WRTA.
Okay.
So what happens is they have a set amount of money that they make. It's usually like $12.50, $12.75, and you can't budget more than, like, say, 60 hours in a week. So they're at different rates.
Just some math on it. Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, Jean did do a very comprehensive examination of cost over the last 4 years. I think her analysis would show that a lot of these operational costs were shifted and pushed off onto the formula grant and other grant funding, when in fact it was coming at the expense of some activities and other programs that should have been run and it was originally approved under the formula grant. So, to her credit, she has submitted a responsible budget. I can tell you her predecessors made it work within the confines of what was appropriated. They had to get very creative. It put a lot of pressure on the operational side of the budget. I understand, the need for an assistant to be there full-time. They do service a lot of individuals up there. It is a very busy and active place. It deserves to have a full-time assistant. And it created a hardship when the director wanted to go out, and we had to fill that void, with Cheryl and some other personnel in order to keep the place running. So we're fully supportive of this budget and ask that you also recommend it to town meeting as well.
And can I just mention one other thing? We do have a state formula grant, and with the formula grant, those funds are actually used for the outreach coordinators that we have. So I have 2 outreach coordinators that work 15 hours a week for each of them. And then it's also for the fitness classes that we have, such as yoga, strength and exercise, muscle building, and then AV and pedal exercise. That's all through the formula grant. We have a volunteer recognition lunch, which through the formula grant we pay $1,000, and our Friends group supplements the rest of the funds for that lunch to honor the volunteers that dedicate and really come in and really help out the center. We have MCOA dues, which we pay, and that's through the state formula grant, as well as my senior center maintenance. So that way, when everyone comes in, they get a little key card, and they'll scan in, and we can say, oh, this person's here for yoga, this person came in for lunch, to kind of see, what areas might need, more people attending or lack of attendance, and just like, good for your numbers to see overall who's coming into the senior center. And
Great.
that's all from our formula grant, which is
Great.
not from the town budget.
Okay. Good. Any other questions, Kev?
Just briefly, so that formula grant, is that guaranteed every year, or? It just seems like there's a lot.
I can say over the, if you look at the history of the formula grant, of course, it's formula-driven based upon a number of criteria. We can rely on that, but once again, it's subject to state funding. I've seen in some years where there's a slight reduction in that funding, but for the most part, I think we can count on that as an annual contribution in addition to what you're looking at here tonight.
Historically, just for budgeting purposes, though, are usually costs like that listed in a budget and then shown that they're credited through grants, or it doesn't come out, or I'm just, what's the correct?
If we did a full build-out, we showed all the costs here, it would show as an offset to the budget, but because we have to count for that separately, it's not included those costs are not included in the operational budget.
Okay.
And there's also, just so I can explain, there's only certain things that you can use for the formula grant. They call it as a green guide. So there's certain things that you can spend your formula grant money on and certain things you can't.
Sure. And just a brief question. When I looked at the line here for van drivers, I'm assuming that those are salaries, but you're saying that's a contract?
It's a contract with the WRTA, so the contract is $36,000 that they give us for the salaries of the drivers to run the vans.
And it's their van?
We get a reimbursement for that throughout the year. So on the revenue side, you're going to see up to $36,000 coming in for costs associated with van drivers.
And those vans are RTA vans, or those Town of Auburn vans that you utilize?
They are WRTA
WRTA
vans.
vans.
WRTA vans,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you.
Good questions. Any other questions on this? Okay, so we have a division budget. This is for the Senior Center Elder Services of $168,655. That's a $26,000 plus dollar increase over the original fiscal 17 appropriation. Do we have a recommendation on this?
I make a motion, we approve this.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted. Great, thank you. I don't believe we have a CIP for elder services. Do you have that quick, Ed, just so we can, I don't open my book.
No, we do not.
We don't, okay. Hey, Jean, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Hope you stay with us a long time.
Thank you very
Look
much.
forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks. Thanks, Ed.
Our next budget. Actually, I'm going to skip to Veteran Services. I know Larry Corbin is here, waiting very patiently like he always does. Larry, did you want to come on up? Yeah. Great. The Veteran Services budget request is $64,750. This is compared to $64,187 last year. Salary on that is $14,500. The rest of it substantially is relief and medical. And that number basically slides around based on need on this. And if either Ed or Larry could give us just a brief on how this program works. We got a couple of new folks here anyways, and it's important to make sure that we all understand how this veterans benefit works. Larry?
Okay, hi, I'm Larry Corbin. I've been the Veteran Services Director for a little over 10 years. And the way the system works is Department of Veteran Services through the federal government funds our Veterans Benefits Program in the town. We have a Chapter 115 system where Under Massachusetts general laws, we can assist veterans, widows, and dependents sometimes based on certain qualification requirements and support them with non-taxable funding. 75% comes back to the town, which is really good, and that's how the system works. I also help file service paperwork for claims, dependents, DD-214s for people, aid and attendance. There's a whole realm of different things that Veteran Services does. Not only do we try to give out money, but, you know, we do everything we can to help with the needs of the veterans. Everything's based on qualifications. Everybody gets the same steps. When I take an application for benefits, it's the same application for everybody. And when I hit the numbers into the computer, the magic wizard comes up with a yes or no. And sometimes, based on income and things like that, I can pretty much feel what the outcome could or can't be. We have a nice story. If I can take a minute to tell you, not everything goes right all the time, but I have an Afghan returnee, United States Army, 29-year-old male, was couch surfing. Everybody knows it means he's sleeping in everybody's house, his mother's, his friends, and things like that. Had no steady dwelling or anything else like that. Somebody gave me his name. He came to me. He came to me. That day, I got him out of the couch surfing. I got him into a established apartment, paid his rent, his deposits. Actually, they were waived because I knew the landlord. And got him a part-time job. And he's working pretty much 25 hours, 30 hours a week. His boss loves him. He's doing very well. And now he's going for some of his education benefits. So the guy's come a long way from no income to his part-time job, and I make up the difference based on his hourly wages every 4 weeks, and I only pay him once a month, and he's averaging $500 a month from us. So that's what we do, and we try to do it plus the widows and things like that. I really love what I do because I think it's absolutely the right thing, and sometimes I get a little bit miffed when I can't help, and I feel bad, and I've had to do that. But you can't have a $50,000 bank account and want me to give you $1,000 a month. You can't do that. That's why everything is checked.
Okay, great, and great overview on that. And I'll also add to that, the relief and medical, that number, what's really the town's responsibility, that number can change up or down based on how busy Larry gets with his qualified people. So we've had a few times where we've had to come back and actually increase that number. Once again, we do get some percentage reimbursement,
75%.
For what we're putting up front for these. But basically, the town is obligated to be coming up with this minimum formula-driven help to the veterans coming
It
back.
comes back on the month of the year later. So March next year, we will get all of March this year's money back.
And given the veterans' situations, they're all different.
It's a continuum.
We just don't know when those things go up and down and that kind of thing, so,
And it's a floating.
yeah. But the town obviously has to stand behind it. We have no problem doing that. I know our committee's never hesitated on making sure there's enough money to get that paid. So I'll open it up to questions. Kim?
Larry, how many people do you service on average?
Right now, 12.
That's your 12 a month?
Every 2 weeks.
Okay. And what's your high number? Is 12 a low number? Or is
What
that
has been my highest? 15. We're fortunate in Auburn. We're not like a lot of different other towns. We don't have a needy society of veterans, but I get more calls after something happens than before something goes awry. So usually it's catch-up time, and it's, what am I entitled to for benefits? What can my father get? I get all those questions after the fact. So a lot of a lot of the forms are free. Information's free. I make sure that their claims are right. That's the good part. So very rare do I put somebody on Chapter 115 unless they have a below income. Usually the income is, if it's less than $1,500 or $1,800 a month, they're entitled to a few hundred from Veteran Services. Obviously.
Mr. Chairman, I can attest to the fact that it's a very busy office because it's an extension of our office. And the foot traffic that comes in, asking for Larry, people seeking benefits is amazing. I mean, there are a lot of people out there seeking help.
And we just got a new South Korea, the embassy in South Korea released last month or 2 months ago, a new medal for Korean war vets that served in country in 1952 to 55. You had to have served in country. I got the word out as best I can, and the medal's absolutely really nice. It's around the neck, and it's so I've got one person I found that has told me about it, given me their paperwork, and I put them in for it. And when we do get the medal and get the approval, I'll give it to them at a town hall meeting or something like that. Yeah, this is well worth, it's like the president giving you one of these. Yeah.
Great.
Very busy.
That's great. Kev?
Looking through the chair, Larry, that leads to the question. You told a great success story, but that was through your networks and word of mouth, this kid that's, bouncing from place to place. Do you get any sort of notifications from the state veterans agents or from the VA directly that, a resident of the town is about to return home and,
Yes.
preemptively offer them, these are your benefits and...
Yes, I got a phone call. As a matter of fact, good question. The other Monday, I got a phone call from Boston, from the shelter in Boston, that a veteran was coming back to Auburn. Gave me his name, and he'll contact me when he gets back in town. And Boston is setting him up with paying his rent. They didn't know his address yet because they hadn't finalized the relocation, but they're going to pay his rent and his first month and things like that. I'll pick it up after he comes back. He's not employable. See, there's employable and non-employable. There's different things. If you're unemployed and can work, that's one thing. If you're unemployed and you can't work, then I got to try to get you on Social Security disability insurance. But until that happens, I have to put you on Chapter 115, and that is a high-end $900 to $1,200 a month, as opposed to $300, $400, $500, $600. So that's where the fluctuation goes. And Eddie's been real good helping helping me keep the numbers right. So, but we don't have a real bad need, except for paperwork, phone calls, that kind of stuff. The shell answer man.
Trevor, question?
You mentioned before that there have been instances in the past where you have to turn people away because they
Yes.
don't meet federal, I'm assuming these are
Federal
federal
guidelines,
regulations.
correct.
Are we allowed in any way to provide like additional funding and have regulations within the town or have some sort of emergency fund where we can make our own, maybe one-time contributions on things like that?
I think statutorily, there are allowances for veterans under relief for property taxation and things of that. And I'd like to use that as an opportunity to thank Larry for his participation relative to Articles 20, 21, 22, and 23, where we did meet as a result of action recommended by the Board of Selectmen to offer our elderly residents, those of low income, as well as our veterans, some relief by way of taxation by looking at the limits that are in place, by loosening up those limits and opening up that door a little more that offers us an opportunity to give them some additional relief.
Okay. I think, from instances where most of, if they're, couch surfing and homeless, I'm wondering how many of them are paying property taxes, things like that, so.
Well, they wouldn't,
What kind of impact that would have on them as opposed to an opportunity to give them a, some sort of get off your feet, help you get off your.
Yeah, unfortunately, there is nothing we can do that would allow for that under the.
Right, and I didn't know if that was a regulated thing or.
There is, maybe this is an opportunity to underscore this, there is on your tax bill, people can donate money that goes directly to the veterans. We do have an account, and that would offer some flexibility to address a need at the discretion of Larry. But that is one opportunity to address something like that.
Okay.
I have made arrangements sometimes with Park and Shop for a veteran to take one of my vouchers, go down, get X amount of food, bring me back the receipt and that and the other thing, it comes right out of my budget. So if necessary. But I've only turned down a couple people and it's all because of income. That's the issue. You can't have $20,000, $30,000 in the bank and tell me you can't pay your rent. You can't, because when I apply for your benefits, Boston reviews the application and it shows you got a $30,000 plus in the bank account. Boston will tell me spend it down or tell him to sell his house. And they're really direct on that.
Just a brief question. You made mention of, you enter your numbers into the magic computer and tells you stuff back, and some of your challenges of keeping all the paperwork, state, federal, and, municipal paperwork in line. Through the CFO, is Larry a department of one? Is he supported by staff within there? Is there room in the budget? Should we be looking in the budget for a part-time in that office? Because it sounds like your successes are through all the contacts you've made, through...
For the last 10, 15 years, plus I worked for the state. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm
Larry's a one-man show, but he's always made himself available if he's not in the office by phone, and he's been very responsive.
Yeah, 24/7. I come up here more days when I'm not supposed to be, just to simply make sure everything's okay. So it's not believe me, I'm underpaid and overworked. Don't worry about it.
Well, I guess, we don't want to see that.
I had to get that in there.
If you decide to go to sunny Florida tomorrow, I think, away from this cool and dank weather, we lost all those contacts to the winds.
Yeah, the network is good. Is all of us are basically connected. All of our veteran services, there's one in every town. And we're very fortunate in Massachusetts because us and Indiana are the only states that have it. This is a uniquely different approach. Okay, and I mean, veterans benefits are in every state, every town, education and all that other stuff, but Chapter 115 support's unique to us, which is a very good thing. It is. You know, it keeps a lot of people from going hungry, things like that, you know, so.
Okay, good. Any other questions? All right. Larry, thanks for your time. So we've got
To recommend.
Second?
all right, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted. I don't believe we have any CIP for you, Larry. And Eddie, thanks for referencing those couple of articles on there. So we'll be getting to those also. So Larry, thanks for being behind those articles. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Okay, our next budget on the public services. This is a new budget called Community TV. It's a $189,847 requested by the town manager. Ed, if you can just give us a brief overview. We've got no historical.
So Chris is here, so he's going to come up and join me.
Great, thanks.
This is a recently established enterprise account. We were required to treat these funds in one of two manners, and it resulted in us bringing an article at the last town meeting, which established the enterprise fund, which now puts us in compliance beginning July 1. Either you have to treat this as an enterprise fund or a special revenue account. And if it's a special revenue account, it still requires an annual appropriation. So we wanted to capture all the costs associated with the operation of community TV, including the indirect costs, which would allow for a chargeback of some of the services that we provide Chris in support of his total operations. So that's why you don't see a 3-year history here, because this was handled as a special revenue account before without an annual direct appropriation. Department of Revenue will no longer allow us to account for it in that manner. So it is an established enterprise fund. It is a standalone. Like the sewer department, it is part of the annual operating budget, but it is in a different fund, okay? So with that, this budget was reviewed and recommended by town administration. I would suggest any of the details relative to those line items, Chris is here to offer any explanation if you have any questions.
I'll open it. I thought we had always had something coming back from charter on this, so is there an offset to this, or a partial offset?
Yes, so annually, well, we have a 10-year contract?
Yes.
We have a 10-year contract that allows for annual revenues. It's a dollar amount for each subscriber.
Well, it's a percentage rate, 4.5% of their basic cable rate. Better Charter does, better we do. It comes out to about $55 per household per year.
And that's that.
So that's the annual revenue stream, offsetting the operational expense, and there are two capital payments throughout the...
Yes. First capital payment was $125,000 at the beginning of the contract. The next capital payment would be $125,000 at year 5, which is next year.
So that helps to support the infrastructure.
That doesn't fully cover this budget, though, does it?
Oh, yes.
It does?
Yes.
Okay, that's really where I was getting to on this.
This budget requires no subsidy from the general fund at this time.
Kim?
Is this what we get from charter? Is this the total amount that we get, 189,000? Or is there more than that?
Yes.
More than that, and that difference would go into a retained earnings account at year end. that we could also use for capital improvements or capital enhancements.
So what does the town get annually from cable receipts? Is that in the,
No, actually, there is a revenue stream. Hold on.
is that in the?
So as a one-time, because this would go into, you got to remember, there is no certified retained earnings for this fund at this point in time because we haven't had a budget.
Right.
There will be one next year. So we have to appropriate money as an available fund only in year one in order, as a startup. So available funds is an offset to the operating budget. $247,500. Now, that accounts not only for the operational side, but it covers the cost of any indirect cost, which I believe was $30-some-odd thousand.
I think so, yeah.
So that's the total that we get from Charter?
It fluctuates from year to year. I can provide that to you.
I've got-
Do you have that?
FY17, last year we got $253,228.53. Year before was $233,802.61.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was just
Yeah.
curious.
Sure. Valerie?
So you said it's about $55 a year per household, and that's a percentage, I believe you said 0.45% of basic cable?
4.5%, and there are about 5,011 subscribers,
Okay, and that's on the basic cable portion you said?
just the basic.
Is there any concern this might go down? A lot of people are switching to internet only and using internet streaming
Well, they
services?
typically bundle the basic cable with the internet.
Okay, so it's not just
we
on
get
the
it.
TV portion, it's if you have phone, cable, and internet, it's 4.5% of your total bill?
Yeah, it's 4.5 of the basic cable rate.
Okay.
Now, if they receive the basic cable,
Yeah.
whether they bundle it with internet, doesn't matter.
Okay.
We get the percentage from the basic cable.
Okay. But if people are switching to internet only, we could see a drop?
Well, I don't think,
Revenue?
I don't believe Charter is selling internet only. Are they? Do they bundle it with the basic cable?
You can get internet, yeah. No, you can get internet only. I'm just hearing a lot of people switching to using streaming services rather than paying for cable. But I believe Charter is the only option right now in the town, so,
There's nothing in the contract that prohibits anybody else from coming in and cabling the town.
okay.
The contracts are non-exclusive. The only reason why we budget for we do 10-year contracts is to save legal fees. We're required by the state to begin contract renegotiations 3 years out from the end of the contract.
Thank you.
Makes sense. Any other questions? Good. Once again, this is a initial budget of $189,847. Do I have a motion on this?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted. Great. Now, Chris, now that that budget's set, can you,
Mess up when I leave.
there we go. Has there been any talk about We'll try that one more time. The TV service down at the high school, which I know it's a 10-year-old building, has been inconsistent at best, both in the presentation room and the auditorium. Has there been any talk about rewiring or working on that?
You mean the live?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're, right now, we're in the process of putting in a remote facility in the presentation room,
Yep.
in the library presentation room, and that's it for now. Also in the library, we'll be doing their sound system, we're paying for carpeting, presentation, widescreen TVs on both walls.
Okay.
Anything that's remotely to do with broadcasting, whether it's the paint on the walls, the carpeting for soundproofing, lighting, we can take care of it.
Okay.
I mean, we paid for the generator for this building because if it goes down, we need to be able to broadcast live. We paid for all the renovations in the planning board room. And I don't know, have you billed us for the?
Yeah, it's
okay.
coming.
But like I said, anything to do with broadcasting.
Okay.
The auditorium, I'm kind of lax to replace the cameras. They work.
And I wasn't talking about the cameras. To me, it's more like the audio issue.
Audio, yeah. Typically, it's with audio, it's the... in the auditorium in the high school, it's the high school. I mean, we can pay for it,
Yeah.
but I can't just replace it. I need them to be working with me.
Yeah.
I need them to request.
I was just curious on how that worked and where.
It's been a lot
Where the
better.
expense would go on
It's
it.
been a lot better since
You know.
we brought an audio engineer in. And revamped the room.
Okay.
Occasionally, I'll be up there trying to make an adjustment, and you'll know it.
Good. No, that's fine. Once again, as an enterprise fund, that's where the investment goes on the retained earnings, right? So it's,
I mean, we'll be putting in a lighting system at Pappas, at the pavilion. We'll be adding subwoofers to the sound system there. And, I mean, we already we do audio for some of the bands.
okay. And I'll remind everyone, I think there's one or two expenditures planned in the CIP for your area. And I think that included Pappas, and
Yeah.
there was one other in there. If there were any questions on
The,
that, I'm fine with, there's 2 items in there, wasn't there?
In about 2 years, we're going to have to upgrade our playback system.
Yeah, okay. A couple of things in there. Any questions on that? That's fine. Great. Chris, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris.
All right. So that actually gets us through all of the Department of Public Services, which is, and we don't have to vote on this, we voted individually on it. So that's a $1,025,954 total recommendation for fiscal 18. All right, so that takes care of Department of Public Services. Next is pension and benefits. And the requested pension total per the town manager is $10,084,713. That compares to a fiscal 17 appropriation of $9,280,809, an increase of just over $800,000. And 500 of that was group insurance, and what's that, 8% increase, Ed?
7.5 to 8.
7.5? Okay. And I know that number changed a little bit. And I think the other bigger piece is the Worcester County retirement, which we can't do anything about. So I will open that up to questions, if there are any. Kim?
The Worcester County retirement increase, is that?
That's a real number. That's a known number. Our assessment came in, I would say, middle of January. The assessment is about $30,000 higher, but if we pay it on July 1, we're able to take that discount up front. So we've been paying that every July 1 every year. Certainly, if we held on to $2.6 million throughout the year, we're not going to earn $30,000 of interest given the current rates. So we examine that every year. We take advantage of that discount if it makes sense.
Any other questions? Kev?
Just briefly, I know last year, when I first came here, was a lot of discussion about benefits and insurance costs, and through some good negotiations with unions and stuff, and a lot of factors that came into control. What's the environment this year for this? I mean,
So we negotiated a 3-year commitment with the bargaining groups relative to some healthcare changes. This is year 2 of year 3. There are some changes, although minor, that save us about $150,000 in year 2. We're still allowing for an opt-out program. So if people opt out, they get an annual payment if they have a family plan of about $3,800. If they have a single plan and they opt out, they get a payment of, I think, about $1,200. And there's a proration if they do it during the course of the year as well. I think we have about 22 people who opted out. So those payments will be going to those individuals before the end of the fiscal year. I think the total savings as a result of the opt-out program is approaching $200,000. So that's a good thing. The annual increase is 7.5%. That's a blended increase between our providers, which are Harvard Pilgrim and Fallon. So it's less than it was last year. Last year, we got the rate increase, it was 12%. We were able to mitigate that down to 2% by basically putting at risk a portion of our health trust, which had a balance of about $7 million. When I say put at risk, we're actually paying for actual claims. Our actual claims ratio was very favorable for the current year, so we really didn't put those dollars at risk because we have a favorable rating. But these are costs that we're going to have to deal with going forward. I mean, I know you must deal with it where you're working. I mean, this is not going away. And federal government is trying to deal with it. I don't know. We're just going to have to this is a major concern of ours. This is the one really volatile line item in the budget that is of concern. Luckily, year 2, 7.5 is not bad compared to what other communities are facing. So I think our trust is really working for us because we're not premium driven. We're paying for actual claims. So we're saving the town a lot of money by going this route.
just briefly, I guess, having learned what you've taught me over the last year with this, and is I can't help but when I hear, positions now, when someone says we're going to, move someone from a part-time to a full-time,
Yeah.
or the school department, asking for additional positions, that as much as I want those services and I want the, the level of service that they're providing to the town and the low classrooms, I can't help but think back to this page, and I kind of get that sort of pit in your stomach knowing that there's these huge costs that are associated with it that don't really show up on the paper. Where do you see us going as, long range with this? Do you see us, is the town, the government going to keep growing, or do we kind of,
Well, I can tell you, general government, if you look over the past 10 years, has not grown at all. If you look at the numbers, we were actually down, and as a result of that, we were limping along. We needed some help in our Inspectional Services Department. We just can't keep up. So yes, there is an additional cost. We are concerned about that, but we believe it's needed. I could say, we made a one-time adjustment this year. There are a number of positions that are coming online. I think we can stabilize the workforce going forward, provided that there's no additional growth. So I think we're adequately staffed now based upon the new positions that are coming on board. Schools, although has historically grown over the past 10 years. I mean, they've bringing on positions every year. And we've made that a concern of theirs. We have to absorb these employee benefits costs because it's not a direct part of their budget. We bring that to light every year when we have these discussions. But certainly, I think they would tell you that these positions are needed to help fund some, and especially this year, some special need type costs that are not going away. Those costs are ballooning on their side as well.
Ed?
Ed, does that 6.8 million, does that equate to roughly a average cost per employee in the town, including the schools?
So the 6.8 million provides for health insurance costs for all employees, including retirees in the family of Auburn.
Do you know roughly how many people that would be roughly?
I want to say 450 people,
I'm sorry, how much? How many?
about 450 people.
450 current employees with benefits as well as retirees?
Yeah, that was my recollection. I can get that number for you. I may be off, but that's my...
So it could be like 12,000 plus per person roughly, on average?
Well, that includes admin costs for GBS to manage our claims as well. So there are some admin costs. There are some stop-loss costs in here. So we pay a premium. We have insurance coverage. If a claim exceeds $100,000, anything over 100, we pay the first 100. Anything above that, we get reimbursed for. So there are other costs associated with this other than direct health benefit costs for our employees.
Question. Mel?
I've seen the opt-out programs getting pretty competitive with private businesses offering it to their employees as well. How often during the course of the year are you seeing families, opting in to the plan? Like, are there any off-cycle emergency?
We can't prevent, there are qualifying circumstances that will allow someone to opt in. If they don't meet that criteria, they have to wait till open enrollment in May.
Okay.
Okay?
Increase?
No. Not at this time. Now, there could be, during open enrollment, an increase. We anticipate that. We provide for a number of new coming on as a result of two things. One, they're opting in because maybe their spouse's plan is not as good as the town's plan. And number two, we get new active employees as a result of those people going out on retirements. So we still have to cover the retirees, but we have to take on the new employees as well.
Kim?
Eddie, what's Medicare penalty? What is that?
So it's those individuals that are Medicare, that were Medicare eligible, that went to the federal plan. So they actually do a look back. So if we were carrying them for a period of time and they're 65 years of age and older, the Medicare eligible component to this didn't go into effect, I think, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So if they were now 75 and Medicare eligible, and they join Medicare on the federal side, there's a look back going back to age 65, and we have to cover a portion of that expense.
Eddie, two questions. The health mitigation, that was part of the contracted changes in the...
That was a part of the negotiated plan, so as a result of those plan design changes, we reimburse for the first 2 years. The difference in cost goes back to the employee.
Okay. My other question was the unemployment comp. Obviously, that number has gone down in actuality. We required to have a minimum in there.
Actually, if you look at the 5-year history, it appears as though the 50 is well over that. I can tell you right now, we're bumping up against 50 now. We may have to do yeah.
Really?
Yeah. We're going to have to do a transfer to get us through the rest of the fiscal year.
Wow.
Unemployment comp, that's when you lay off.
Correct. Or in some cases, if someone resigns or someone is terminated, they may appeal it or challenge it at DET. Sometimes they win, sometimes they don't. And in most cases, if it's a termination or a resignation, we'll appeal the filing and fight the case. Most times, I can't tell you the ratio of wins and losses, but sometimes the applicant does prevail.
So how many people do we have on unemployment now? And are they town side or school side or both?
They are both, but I could tell you the numbers over the years are more school-driven than they are town-driven.
Which would make sense, just employee population.
I couldn't give you a number now, but I can tell you the activity has picked up.
Interesting. Interesting. Any other questions? All right, we've got a $10,084,713 request for pension and benefits. Have a recommendation?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. Thank you. Okay, our last budget item, I think, is CIP in total. Now, Ed, I believe we got a revised CIP tonight?
I think as a result of, I think Mallory's comments regarding the lease purchase, those corrections have been made.
Okay, that's fine. With the CIP, there's really no need to be barking off any numbers on this, although I would like to, if you could just give us that portion of the CIP that we're going to have to bond out on, because I'm pretty happy the number's gone
To
down.
recap this for FY18, we have, let me just get just make sure these numbers line up. Total CIP requests recommended $1,717,216. Of that, $860,000 comes through an appropriation through tax levy. $110,000 is appropriated through sewer retained earnings. $25,000 is a direct appropriation from our CIP trust. $42,431 comes directly from ambulance receipts to pay for lease purchase on the ambulance. $28,170 is coming from community cable TV, access TV, with the remaining balance of $651,615 coming from bond authorization funded through bond proceeds.
I'm showing 649.
Yeah, I said 649.
Mr. Chairman, let me just take a quick...
Yep.
Yeah, on my original packet. This is kind of like the original one that they gave us.
Yeah, I see that. $649,000.
Okay. That's fine. And I'll remind the board that...
Oh, wait a minute, excuse me,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I see the difference. We actually rounded the tax levy to $860,000 instead of $862,615. I need to review this, but it doesn't change the bottom line.
Right.
I will assure you the motion will reflect the proper allocation.
Okay, that's fine. And before we vote on this number, which is obviously there's several years here, 2 of the next 3 years after this, our borrowings will be under $500,000. That's just hell of a great number for 2 of the next 3 years, and I know we're grinding on some of the other numbers too, so that's good stuff. So a motion to accept the CIP budget as sort of presented by the CFO.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted. Great, thanks.
Mr. Chairman, that $1,717,216 is not going to change, so.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Ed. Okay, CIP's done. All right, budget's done. Let's move right into the warrant articles, the latest warrant articles. I'm not going to read all of these verbatim, and I'm going to read very quickly. A lot of these are standard items. There's a few that we normally defer on. Once again, we'll just follow that. There's a lot here. We usually skip over Article 1. Article 2, this would be to fix the salary and compensation of elected town officers. This would be the Board of Selectmen, the town clerk, and the moderator. We basically have approved budgets with salaries for them already. So I guess I'll accept a motion to recommend approval.
Motion to recommend?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Is all in favor? Does that work for this? All right, that's good. Thank you very much. Article 3, this is our operating budget. Our operating budget, per discussion with Ed this morning, totals, and I hope the number hasn't changed, $60,515,579. I'll accept a motion on that. And we are sponsoring this one, so let's not get confused here.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you. All right. Article 4, this is basically our capital improvement budget. As Ed just presented, that he has 99 and 99.99% correct or pretty darn close, number of which I'm not sure. Do I have a motion on this?
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. All right, Article 5, these are standard articles. Once again, I'll paraphrase. Most of these, I don't think the wording has changed in years except the dates on it. This authorizes the town treasurer with the approval of the Board of Selectmen to borrow money from time to time in anticipation of revenue to be received during the financial year beginning 7/1/17 and ending June 30th, 2018, and to issue a note or notes that may be given for a period of less than 1 year.
Motion to recommend.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you. Article 6, see if town meeting will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to submit applications for any available state or federal funds, including Department of Elder Affairs formula grant funds, which funds the board determines to be beneficial to the town, and authorize the expenditure of any money received as a result of said applications.
Motion to recommend.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you. Article 7, see if the town meeting will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to sell at public auction or by sealed bid or assessed value under special circumstances any properties which the town may have acquired or hereafter acquire through tax title foreclosure proceedings, and to sign, acknowledge, and deliver in the name and under the seal of the town deeds, therefore.
Motion to recommend.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you. Article 8, see if town meeting will vote to authorize the town treasurer to enter into compensatory balance agreements during fiscal year 18 as permitted by Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53F, or any other enabling statute. If voted, this will permit the treasurer to maintain specific sums of money and deposit in banks in return for banking services.
Motion to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Article 9, see if town meeting will vote to establish or renew revolving funds for various town school programs in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 50E, 53E, and 1/2 of Chapter 44, Section 53D.
I have a question. Do we have a list? Aren't they supposed to give a list once a year?
Yeah, I would be happy to provide a list to the Finance Committee. We do provide through the annual town report, we disclose all of those revolving accounts. But if you would like to hold on this, I'd be happy to provide a list to you.
I believe...
They're in the motion.
You're in the motion, and we have an opportunity, I think, because of the request for a couple of new revolvers, to talk about them. I think those are the ones that we probably would be focusing on. The annual town report, does that come out as part of town meeting, or is that separate from it?
No, it's available at the annual town meeting.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, but that would be the previous years.
Right,
It's not going to be the current years.
right. I will be happy to run a report tomorrow and forward a PDF copy if you would like.
And that's fine, and I will remind everyone, and I should have already, that we will occasionally meet before town meeting if we put any of these on hold for whatever reason. We just may have a lack of information on some of these, so...
I'd like to,
You want to put it on hold?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I'm sure there'll be a couple things we're going to have some questions on that we usually have a quick meeting before town meeting, so we can do that. So we have a recommendation to hold on this. Okay, we don't need to vote on a hold, right? Okay. So we'll hold on that. Ed, if you can forward that to us? Sure. Even electronically would be great. Okay, Article 10, see if town meeting will vote to authorize town manager to enter into a contract or contracts with Mass Department of Transportation for construction and maintenance of public highways for a period commencing 7/1/17 and ending June 30th, 2018.
motion to recommend?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you. Article 11, see if town meeting will vote to appropriate from available funds a sum of money, if it becomes available, from Massachusetts Department of Transportation Chapter 90 bond issue, proceeds to be used for the repair and maintenance of town roads in conformance with the Commonwealth general laws.
Motion to recommend?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted. Do we have a number on that?
608,000, the letter just came in today.
608,000. Does that change your vote, anybody? Good answer. Good answer. How's that compared to prior year, Ed? Little?
Last year, I think we had 610. The year before, we had 900 because there's a one-year increase up to 300 million. They reverted back to 200 million now. So.
Okay. Good. Article 12, see if town meeting will vote to appropriate $500,000 to the OPEB trust fund.
Motion, first, how much do we have in the OPEB trust now?
I think 2.7 million.
So this will bring us up over 3. Motion to recommend?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you. Article 13, see if town meeting will vote to appropriate $160,000 from Medicaid receipts within the general fund revenues to the Auburn School Department operating budget for fiscal year 18 to fund supplies and medical, therapeutic, and educational services for significantly disabled special needs students, as well as tuition and transportation to and from outside placements or within the district for special needs students.
Motion to recommend?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you. Article 14, see if the town will vote to appropriate $9,345.06, which is the interest earned by the Auburn High School Gymnasium Health and Recreational Trust Fund to offset school department costs at Auburn High School in support of community health and recreation activities at the Auburn High School gym and related facilities and equipment.
Motion to recommend?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted. Okay. Article 15, see if town meeting will vote to accept provisions of Chapter 48, Section 13E of Mass General Laws, establishing a special ed reserve fund. Dr. Brunel had sent along a letter to us on this. I have not had a chance to read the letter on it. Are there any questions, or did Ed, can you fill us in on this to...
This establishes a stabilization fund, as I understand it, according to this letter, and this came as an advisory through the Department of Education, that a separate line item could be appropriated in the annual operating budget as a feeder for this stabilization account. Right now, there is no request for any monies to be appropriated. I think they wanted to establish the account first and consider using this in the future. I can't offer any more than that because I don't know what the intent is once the fund has been established.
Okay. It's news to me. I guess conceptually it makes some sense to, because...
So this would set up a reserve account for future special unanticipated special ed needs. I think when they came in to present their budget, their special ed cost for the upcoming fiscal year was about $560,000 more than what the prior fiscal year had because of outside placements. I think this just offers the school department a backstop in the event that an unanticipated cost should be realized in the future. So it offers them a mechanism to deal with these rising costs in the future, but in terms of a feeder for that, I think they're allowed to transfer money during the year up to 2% of their net minimum contribution. But I'm not quite clear on that yet. So they may be able to deal with this during the fiscal year by transferring monies into the line item, but I think that's a question that they're going to have to, they'll have to deal with that.
So it would not be subject to appropriation by the town meeting, they'd be...
Once it's in their budget, it can automatically go into the stabilization account. And monies can be expended out of that without town meeting approval.
Yeah. I'm going to make a motion to not recommend this article.
All right, Kevin had a question. Well, we have that motion, and we will vote on that motion. Kevin?
My question was just, the letter that they provided to us references Chapter 218, Section 24. But in the article, it's referencing Chapter 48, Section 13E. I don't know if that's more of a oversight section that they reference. It just, there's two sections referenced that don't seem to match up.
They're sponsoring the article. I'm going to have to backtrack and yeah, they don't seem to line up. I just want to draw your attention to the letter, that funds in the reserve fund can only be expended or transferred out after a majority vote of both the school committee and the selectmen or city council, or in the case of regional school districts, which would not apply to us. So there is a process, but it does not require a vote of town meeting like a regular stabilization account is required. It requires a 2/3 vote to draw out of it.
Mr. Chair, I guess
Yeah, go ahead.
prior to the vote, I guess I would be leaning towards more deferring to the petitioner as opposed to...
And we can take multiple votes as, I mean, there are a heck of a lot of questions here. I think I opened up my big mouth, yes, and said that conceptually, I like the idea of it, a funding mechanism and controls on it. I just didn't have a chance to see anything. It looks like there's not a lot there at this point in time. So, yeah, that would concern me greatly on it. Not that I'm not personally concerned with a 2/3 town meeting vote on taking monies out of this, given the various needs of special needs, I guess, in this case. So, having not read that.
And I don't want to speak for the sponsor of the article. I mean, they sponsored the article. It's their article to support and to offer an explanation on. I'm only offering to you what I know. They may know substantially more because they did receive this letter from DESE and may have had some discussions with them as well.
Okay, Kim?
I'll tell you what my concern is. At the end of every fiscal year, whatever money is not expended in a regular operating budget rolls to become free cash. I can see this being the source of reducing the free cash amounts by the appropriation by the school committee to take their unexpended balances.
Which leads to a question. Does the free cash account get money from the school budgets every year? are there monies left over?
I can tell you, since I've been here, there have been no surpluses close out to free cash from the school operating
Oh,
budget.
really?
Yeah.
That's what I expected to hear.
They spend every dime,
Correct.
so they have a feeding frenzy in June.
So the way I'm reading this is it requires a separate line item within the operational side of the budget. So, you know, it's great because when you approve a budget, you approve bottom line. You don't approve a line item budget.
And
And
that's
town
where
meeting
it's-
does the same thing. So whether or not they have the flexibility to transfer money during the year, I don't have an answer for that. So I would suggest maybe that you hold this line item and you have the school department come in to answer some of the questions and concerns that you may have.
I'll
So,
withdraw
yes.
my motion.
Well, you know, we're still talking about it, and this is, it's actually kind of interesting. To me, the stabilization for this kind of thing should be something that's held outside of the school budget. I guess that's a little strange then within it, the way this is set up.
This is unique, and this is something new. I think it's allowed because of the unanticipated costs that communities have to deal with relative to special ed. That has not been seen in a number of years, so I think that's why not only the Department of Education, but the Department of Revenue has allowed for the creation of such an account.
Okay, and this is brand new. I gotta believe it's brand new, really? In terms of...
It's the first I heard of it. This was just brought to my attention during the warrant process, so. So it looks like it was allowed under the acts of 2016.
So it's brand new. So more to get fleshed out on this, no doubt about it. Now, Kim, you had originally not to recommend, and I believe you've requested to withdraw that?
Yeah.
All right, so it would seem to me, well, no, I can't lead a vote here anyways. What, our options are
I would
to
rather
approve,
hold
not
it and
approve,
ask
hold,
them.
or defer. So,
I'm sorry, the options again?
would be to recommend approval, not approval, defer to the petitioner, or hold it. I guess my question is, if we hold it, and I'm not trying to lead anyone along, are we going to have enough information at 6:30 on Tuesday, whatever the date is of town meeting, to come up with a vote on this? I don't know. I'm not too sure.
I'll make a motion to defer to the petitioner.
Okay. Kevin, I don't believe your motion had come in yet. I think you were going to hold on this, or
No,
did you not get that?
my leaning was towards deferring to the petitioner. so
Deferring to
I
the
will second,
petitioner. Okay, so we have a defer and a second on this. Obviously, we're being taped somewhere, so they get our point on, we've got a lot of questions on this. With that, any further comment before we vote on it? Okay. All in favor of deferring to the petitioner?
Aye.
Aye. And opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed, okay. And that still passes?
It's 5-1.
1, 2, 3, 5 to 1, so it does pass. Okay. And once again, I understand and appreciate everyone's concerns on this. I think this just needs to get fleshed out, which may take some time to do. So defer on 15. So, I think I'm looking at the right one here. 16 and 17. These are votes to, I think these are something we could probably at least address combined. Is 16 and 17 repurposing CIP funds? Or am I on the wrong one?
No, 16, 17.
Well, I had a discussion with the school business manager relative to Article 16,
Yeah.
because the $45,000 has not been borrowed yet.
Okay.
I don't know if the repurpose component to this article is adequate. It may require just a straight amendment This just came to light this afternoon, so I may have to consult legal counsel as to whether or not the language needs to be changed. I think the intent is clear. It specifies that. Any change would have to be made, I think, in the motion. But we may have time to change it before it's mailed to the town meeting
All right,
members.
so we can actually vote certainly on the intent. I don't think anyone have a big problem with that. We know the numbers. It's coming from prior town meetings, and I'll read this more thoroughly, but it's basically, I think we should be taking the same motion on both of these unless there's some real good question and I'm missing something here. So Article 16, see if town meeting will vote to repurpose CIP funds by amending Article 3 of the May 2015 town meeting, Central Administration Building Rehab account, blah, 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 as follows. Authorize the amount of $45,000 to be used for the purpose of window repair replacement at the central admin building. Any questions or comments on that?
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted. Article 17, which I think will just add another 3+ grant. See if town meeting votes to repurpose the remainder of CIP funds from amending Article 4 of the May 2013 town meeting, Central Admin Building Rehab. Delete the balance of 3862 and add the amount to Article 3 of the May 2015 town meeting, Central Admin Rehab for the purposes of window repair replacement. Is that read right? And add this amount to Article 3.
This doesn't make
So the-
sense.
So they may need to both be changed?
I think it's in conjunction with, no, it's going to be a standalone. I think the intent is it's going to be used with the $45,000 appropriated.
But the language isn't a problem.
I can't commingle that. I have to keep that separate.
All right, but I believe the intent is still the same. The intent is $48,862 will be repurposed for window repair replacement from other needs that were already established at the central administration building. So Article 17 is relating to 3862, I think. 3862 to repurpose for window repair replacement.
Motion to recommend, but it won't be that language, right?
Correct. It's going to have to change, right?
So I think we're going to have to take out account 302016. We have to take out the...
Add it to
add it to the Article 3.
Because you can't do that.
And we noticed that I didn't mention the, account number, just for that reason.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thanks. So Hennigan didn't get a chance to read these, or just, they were still kind of fresh off the press?
Well, I don't think legal counsel would be familiar with the munis account numbers assigned to the capital side, so...
Okay. Let's see, Article 18, see if town meeting will vote to repurpose CIP funds to support the replacement of the, of the burner at Auburn High School by amending Article 4, May 2016 town meeting, kitchen equipment account as follows. Delete the balance of $20,000 for kitchen equipment and repurpose the $20,000 to be used for replacing the burner at Auburn High School.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted. Just a reminder, that's a, 11-year-old building now? 11, 12 years old? All right, Article 19, see if town meeting will vote to appropriate $46,000 from general fund revenues for the care and maintenance of Meredith Stone and Julia Bancroft school buildings. Same amount as last year, or $6,000 more, Ed?
Same amount.
Okay. A recommendation on this?
Reluctantly recommend.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, so voted. I think we all reluctantly recommend. Let's see, Article 20, see if town meeting will vote to accept provisions of Acts of 1993, Chapter 110, which reduces required time of domicile in the state under Chapter 59, 5 clauses, et cetera, et cetera. Eddie, can you just explain, is this basically lowering the amount of time that a
Correct.
veteran
That would
has to...
qualify
for local, is it?
I believe this
Is it
is a
state
clause for
residents
the
or
veteran.
town?
Huh?
Is this state or town? They have to be a resident of the town?
Resident of the town.
Okay. To get exemptions, et cetera, et cetera. So making it easier for the veterans to get some stuff that they need.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you. Article 21, see if town meeting will vote to reduce the rate of interest accrued on property taxes deferred by eligible taxpayers under general laws, Chapter 59, squiggly 5, Clause 18, and GL, Chapter 59, Clause 41A, to 4%, with such reduced rate to apply to taxes assessed for any fiscal year beginning on or after July 1, 2017.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted. Article 22, see if town meeting will vote to accept provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 59. Is that a squiggly, right? That's what I'm going with.
Squiggly is section.
Section, is it section? I like squiggly. It's these new glasses, I guess. Clause 56, which allows an exemption of 50% of real personal property taxes assessed to Massachusetts National Guardsmen and reservists deployed overseas to be effective beginning in fiscal year 2018.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you. Article 23, see if town meeting will vote to adjust the factors for the property tax exemption for senior citizens on the Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 41C as amended by Chapter 184, Section 51 of the Acts of 2002, by reducing the requisite age to 67, increasing the gross receipts limit if married to $30,000 and whole estate limit of $50,000, and increasing the gross receipts and whole estate limits an amount equal to the Consumer Price Index each year as determined by Massachusetts Department of Revenue.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thanks. Article 24, see if town meeting will vote to establish a revolving fund for the Department of Development and Inspection Services Animal Control Division for the purpose of collecting fees received from kennel fees, including but not limited to reclamation, adoption, and boarding fees, to credit any revenues received to DDIS, Animal Control, and authorize them to expend funds for the purpose of animal care, veterinary medical expenses, and maintenance with expenditures not to exceed $10,000 in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and 1/2.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you. Article 25, and this is, sponsored by the town clerk. See if town meeting will vote to appropriate $12,700 from available funds, state primary election account number 251-000-007, for the purchase of electronic poll books to be used for various town-wide elections.
I have a question.
Sure.
What's an electronic poll book?
So you know when you go to registration, they have the book where they check you in and out. It's now on a...
Oh, sweet. Motion to recommend.
About time on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you. Article 26, I'll be hoping to receive a recommendation to defer. This is from the town clerk and animal control officer. This is regarding dog license, late charge, unlicensed dogs, et cetera, et cetera.
Motion to defer.
Second.
Thank you very much.
Whoa.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, I'll ask again. All in favor?
Aye.
That's Article 26. Opposed? So voted. Thank you. We already did Article 27, and thank you for your time on that.
Can we read it again now? Is it fine?
I'll read it to you after the meeting. Okay? Thanks, Ed. All right, Article 28, this is from the fire chief. This is regarding public safety, radio coverage, et cetera. If you'd like me to read it.
Motion to defer.
Thank you, Kim.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you. Article 29, see if town meeting will vote to authorize the town manager to enter into an agreement for payments in lieu of taxes pursuant to general laws, Chapter 59, Section 38HB, or any other enabling legislation for taxes attributable to a solar photovoltaic facility installed or to be installed on property within the town of Auburn, on such terms and conditions and for a term of years as the town manager deems to be in the best interests of the town, and to take any other action necessary for or convenient for the implementation and administration of such an agreement.
Guess I'd like to hear from before making a recommendation on that, what that entails or...
So right now, we are working with a company who is interested in putting in solar panels here in town. It would be installed over approximately 42 acres of land, generating about 7.3 megawatts of power. That would result in a substantial annual payment to the town through a pilot agreement, which would be structured over a period of 20 years, which would give us about $1.5 million over that period of time. We could only do that by a vote of town meeting for a term of 20 years or 30 years. So it creates a permanent revenue stream for the town. And we would get the real estate tax on the value of that solar farm as well.
Through the chair,
Yeah, go ahead.
is this town-owned land or is this private land?
No, it's privately owned land.
Okay, and my question would be, I know the town of Warren is currently going through an issue with a company who would, the old Scottish Meadows golf course. Golf course sold, they put solar panels on the whole golf course. That company went out of business, disappeared. So now the town is in the process of, I believe, trying to secure the property, who's going to maintain the property. They've got all these panels with agreements that fell apart when the company went away. I guess that's my concerns as to this relatively new industry that's, popping up everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's panels popping up.
Yeah, this is going to require purchase of land. I think they have agreements on, but are not willing to do so until they know that things are moving forward on the town side. Certainly, I think we would require a surety bond agreement for a situation that may lead to something like that, where there would be coverage to remove whatever has been installed on the property.
So there'll be certainly more to follow, typical board, ZBA, planning, all those.
Oh, yes,
approvals
yes,
required.
yes.
So,
It would need, it would need approvals through probably ZBA, planning board, other regulatory.
So this is step one, basically,
Yeah.
to start the discussions, and
Yeah.
this does not...
this article had been at least brought up before, and I think pulled.
I think there was an agreement or an article for a net metering agreement.
Okay.
Which never came to.
Right.
But this is something, this is structured a little different.
Okay. Good to know that, and good questions. Any other questions on this? Honestly, on this, we can defer. There's really no financial
motion
impact
to
on this?
defer.
Okay. Second. Any comments on that? All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted. Article 30, and Ed had just given me this list of capital improvements. I will spend a minute and go through this as best as I can read. See if the town meeting will vote to appropriate $100,000 from overlay surplus for miscellaneous building facility improvements. Remodel second floor bathrooms in Town Hall, $18,000. Kennel repairs, $14,000. DPW building repairs, $18,000. Paint Town Hall offices, $3,000. Purchase, install key code security locks at the Town Hall, $1,000. Police station roof replacement, $30,000. Police station ventilation upgrade, $6,000. And contingency of $10,000, a total of $100,000. This was sponsored by the CFO and town manager.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you very much. Okay. Article 31, this is by the DPW Director, Town Engineer. See if the town meeting will vote to appropriate From available funds, sale for real estate, what is that number, Ed?
That's a special, that's an org number, 261017.
Thank you. A sum of $50,000 for the purpose of constructing a DPW facilities maintenance workshop located at the Auburn DPW, 5 Millbury Street. Question, Kim? Sure.
What is the source of that sale of real estate?
So we had a public auction for a tax foreclosure property, several tax foreclosure properties, that took place, I want to say,
December?
I think it was December. That netted us about a $109,000 net proceed from the sale of those properties. So we're using this as a one-time appropriation to do an expansion of the DPW building down on 5 Millbury Street to accommodate a workshop for our facility maintenance division. They're currently operating out of Camp Gleason, and it's just not adequate enough. They're working in the basement of the building. It's too small, and
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted. Article 32 is using some more of those same funds. See if town meeting vote to appropriate from available funds, sale for real estate, 261017, a sum of $32,000 to perform additional site assessments and environmental monitoring at 5 Millbury Street to achieve permanent site closure through the Department of Environmental Protection. This could be final?
This is to close out, hopefully close out that site with DEP. It cost us about $600,000 to clean up that site over the years. We have monitoring wells down there. We have to file annual reports. Annual monitoring has to be done. Our consultant is telling us that he believes he can close this out with some additional work and some filings with DEP.
Sorry, could you just clarify what 5 Millbury Street is?
DPW. They had this was what, the gas tanks they had?
Fueling station.
Fueling
We had our own pumps down there,
Okay.
and one of the tanks leaked.
Okay.
Years ago.
Decades ago, right?
Yeah.
That was before the turn of the century.
That's just to close out our involvement with DEP relative to that tank issue. It's not anything relative.
Right, that would put it,
You were still working then, weren't you, Ken? Yeah, okay, long time ago.
so, right, this would permanently close out that site.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted. So is there still a small balance left in the?
Yes.
Okay, and that's hanging out there right now. Article 33, see if town meeting will vote to appropriate from general fund revenues a sum of $42,000 for the installation of a ventilation system at the DPW Highway Building Garage located at 5 Millbury Street. No, we just put in what, smoke detectors
Yeah.
over there, right? Is this also going to include the new facility for the facilities maintenance guys? Is that all going to
No,
be?
this is in the main building where the vehicles are,
So Article 31 will be a new building?
it'd be an extension of the existing building, yes.
Okay. An extension of 5 Millbury.
Yep.
And this is at 5 Millbury, so the ventilation system will cover the addition that we were talking about, right?
I think the ventilation is required because there are vehicles running,
Yeah.
so it's to exhaust the fumes.
Questions? Anyone?
Motion to recommend.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted. Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Yep.
Why are all these capital articles not in the capital budget?
Well, they were on the capital list. Remember, we put together a 5-year plan outside of the capital improvement that addresses some additional needs that weren't done through the capital plan. So this, quite honestly, has been a concern of the director for a number of years. It is a health and safety issue that we really need to address, so.
I'm not just talking about the DPW ones, but the 100,000 from overlay. Those are all capital repairs.
Yeah, I think the town manager or town administration is addressing our facilities themselves. If you look at historically at the request, it's primarily vehicles and equipment and not the actual building itself. Because now that we have facility management and fleet maintenance, we have individuals who do periodic review of our buildings to determine what needs to be done. So we got a level of expertise that we couldn't rely on before. So.
Okay, any other questions? Good question, Kim. These are all CIP stuff anyways, just really of a different flavor, right? Okay, Article 34, this is sponsored by the planning board regarding zoning stuff.
Motion to defer?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, so voted. Article 35, this is also sponsored by the planning board. Thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed, so voted. The last one? I'm liking that. So at this point, we've got what? We've got one on hold? Revolving, okay. That's fine. So we'll have to meet just before town meeting on that. Ed, if you can get us, all we have for revolving accounts, so if we have any questions, that would be great. So town meeting starts at 6:30. Can we make it for that? Obviously, should be a quick meeting unless we get some other stuff thrown at us. So thanks, everyone, for that. Next on the agenda, we've got one transfer. Sorry. So I'm going to read this thing.
Mr. Chairman, in summary, if I could just bring you up to date as to where we are in terms of revenue and expense as a result of the action that you finalized tonight. That still leaves, if we were to tax it 2.5, it would leave $655,000 available for appropriation. So if we use that as an offset, and certainly we're in no position to commit any of that yet, certainly the numbers are still fluid coming in from the state. We only have the governor's numbers. House numbers have not been released. But at $655, and I think 2.5 represents like $1,080,000, we'd be taxing at a rate just under 1%.
So we're still at about 1%?
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know, even with all these stuff coming in. Obviously, we're using some found monies, which is great for one-time projects. Okay. Good. Hey, when you send out the revolving accounts, can you send an update to that also?
I'll send this to you as well.
Recap, that'd be great, so everyone has it.
Thank you.
Just if anyone has any questions, we're a half an hour, hopefully we start town meeting on time. It'd be just great to, maybe have a general conversation on that, so we can add that on the agenda for that. The transfer we've got in front of us, this is from the assessor's office. There's two transfers going to separate accounts, so we're going to have to take them separately. The first one is a transfer to training courses, amount requested $100 from MAP updating. This is to transfer the annual assessing conference costs. I can't even read that.
Cost.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any questions or motion on this?
Motion to recommend?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you. The second is to the travel account, amount requested $200. This is also in the assessor's office for MAP updating. And this is a transfer to fund the annual assessing conference costs.
Recommend?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, so voted. Thank you. All right, so Ed, we don't have any reason to meet before town meeting. As far as I know, good, so that's great. So we won't meet until, what's the date?
May 2nd.
May 2nd at 6:30. Sharon, you'll let us know what room we'll be meeting in down there. Okay, having said that, I'll accept the motion to
Mr.
adjourn.
Chairman, before you adjourn, if any transfers should requires some attention.
Yeah,
How would you like to?
we'll do them verbally, and then we'll take care of them then, so that's fine, it's not that far away. Good, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So voted. Thank you.